A relatively straightforward Friday at Silverstone. Straightforward in the sense that it was sunny and not rainy and not muddy. Massive number of cars and people there. Cars in the car park, that is. And very few incidents, Formula One wise. Not many disruptions. Lots of laps put in. A lot of the rookies, people like Logan Sargent getting in a lot of laps in with full tank runs. First time we've seen this year, to my knowledge, first time we've seen every driver do a long run in either the first or the second session. So it was that sort of day. A lot of homework done. Initially, everybody complaining about lack of grip. Obviously, that picked up as the day progressed. Focus, of course, on the new construction Pirellis, much stiffer, stronger, built commensurate with the increase in speeds and loads going through the cars. No increase, interestingly, in the weight of the tyres, even though they're stronger. It says a lot about the modern technology at Pirelli. And that new construction applies across the range to all three of the compounds, the hard, medium, and the soft. Max Verstappen looking good as ever, straight out of the box, second a lap quicker than anyone. Complaining about lack of grip, absolutely on ice, he said, as he went round a second lap quicker than the opposition, and his day just got better after that. Max running both the soft and the medium on with a heavy fuel load. Other runners doing homework on the hard tyres. So from Pirelli's point of view, they got a lot of data today with heavy fuel on all three compounds. You'll see elsewhere, you know for sure that Max was quickest from Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc didn't run at all in the second session due to an electrical issue on the Ferrari. Looked pretty good in the morning. Quite unusual for any team to lose an entire session. Well, I say unusual, it does happen, but okay, what I'm really trying to say is unusual amongst the top teams, I guess, and for something as obscure as an electrical problem. I mean, that's the sort of thing you step back in the 60s, you know, couldn't trace the misfire, took the whole car apart, still there the next day, try everything, fuel pressure, electrics. And it was surprising to me that Ferrari didn't get a single lap for Leclerc in the afternoon because of this electrical problem. So obviously not a good thing from his point of view. I got to say at the moment, it still does look as if there will be inclement weather on the Saturday. That's not good news for Charles, of course, because he hasn't looked very good in the semi-wet or the wet in recent races. Anyway, getting down to it, I said Max had a busy day. That also applies to Carlos Sainz, who took on obviously a lot of responsibility for Ferrari with Charles not running in FP2, but in FP1 he did a good long run, as did Max. You can see what happened there in the runs. Max on the hard tyre, so he ran the medium and the soft in FP2, so he did fuel runs on all three compounds, admittedly in different sessions. 33.1 on the hard tyre, impressive. Carlos Sainz 33.2 on the medium when it was still new, and Charles Leclerc 32.8. Everybody else looking to try to solve the problem with lack of grip. Mercedes drivers also complaining about bouncing and vibration in the case of George Russell. Didn't look very happy at all. Not a great morning for Mercedes. They didn't really know where they stood because they didn't actually run the soft tyre either, so they didn't know how quick they were going to be. So let's have a look now at what happened when they did put the soft tyres on in FP2. And you can see there that, again, Max Verstappen 28.0. Not a great lap for Max. He had a lot more in it than that, but it was enough for him still to be quickest. They said at the time, "Do you want to have another go, Max?" And he said, "No, let's get on with the full tank running." Obviously thinking about the new constructions and how hard Silverstone is on tyres, particularly the left front. Very high G loading. We're getting 5G laterally going into Beckett's. Really impressive to watch. And even after one lap, they'd come in, get out of the car and start doing neck muscle exercises. You can just see how hard they have to work here. So Max was quickest. Carlos Sainz was second quickest. This is in the afternoon session, FP2, when they were running the soft tyre. Good lap from Carlos. Alex Albon and Logan Sargent, third and fifth for Williams. And that's not all top speed either. The car looking really good. Beautifully run at the moment, I think, by James Bowles, doing a very, very good job there at Williams. Sergio Perez, between them, 28.3. And we shouldn't just end there, I suppose, going back to Williams. Very good job by Logan Sargent. Half a second slower than Alex Albon around Silverstone in his first year in Formula One. That is impressive, I think. So very good performance for them. Lance Stroll, sixth, quicker again than Fernando Alonso. He seemed to have a very slow start to FP1, didn't really get out until halfway through, and then was scratching to get the tyres to work and to put in some runs. Didn't do any sort of full tank run in FP1. And Lance nearly half a second quicker than Fernando this afternoon. Nico Hülkenberg again looking good in the Haas Ferrari, Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri. So where are the Mercedes? George Russell was 12th and Lewis Hamilton 15th on soft tyres. So that was the first time they put the soft tyres on. Not looking good for Mercedes. It wasn't as bad for Mercedes when they put fuel in. 33.6 for Lewis on the soft tyre, which compared with 33.6 of Lando Norris on the hard. Good run by Lando. So you've got to say there, McLaren still had the advantage. So more realistic comparison for Mercedes, and this is where the promise comes from. Lewis Hamilton 33.6 on the soft. Carlos Sainz, when he was out on the soft tyre before he switched to the mediums, and he was a bit quicker on the mediums. On the soft tyre, it was a longer run, admittedly, but about the same length as Lewis Hamilton's. He's doing about the same lap time. So yeah, not a bad afternoon for Mercedes with the new front wing. So to get more on that new front wing and what it means, what Mercedes are working on at the moment, and also some updates at Ferrari, let's hand over to Shub, who will talk us through it.
After the Monaco Aero update, in which Mercedes got new side pods, new floor, and new engine cover, it was kind of expected that a front wing was coming. Now, why is a front wing expected to come? Simply because the front wing determines the rest of the flow conditioning to the rear of the car. The entire front wing has kind of changed. The chord-wise and the span-wise distribution of all the elements have changed. In particular, the integration of the first element with the nose has changed. Instead of dipping up, it now dips down. And there is no real inboard loaded or outboard loaded philosophy on this wing. The wing looks quite evenly loaded throughout the entire span, which is kind of indicative of them trying to target efficiency and cleanliness over a certain type of target philosophy in a way. Another really big change is the difference between the wing tip elements. Mercedes had their unique design in which they had their tips exposed. It was kind of a loophole that they found in the regulations. And what it allowed them to do is kind of generate really strong vortex structures, which would roll up and control the tire squish from the front tire, which would kind of do the management of losses going into the flow. However, Mercedes have kind of dumped that entire concept and have gone to a more conventional design like the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Now, some of the simulations that we've tried doing in CFD and some of my studies in the videos on my channel kind of shows that this makes the car less dependent on yaw. That is, say for example, as the car approaches slow speed corners, there is less unpredictability that might be expected with such kind of a design as compared to a more aggressive design in the form of open shedding tips. So if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, check out my video on the W14 front wing on my channel F1 Aerodynamicist. Ferrari has got a beam wing update, which might sound small, but it is a very big upgrade for them because this is a very Red Bull inspired upgrade, I would say, because they are the first team after Red Bull to have moved on to a single element beam wing, and they've combined that with a T-tray type of secondary element, which is quite neutral in its own right, almost forming a biplane configuration that Red Bull started with last year. Now, why is this big? A, because it would definitely give you a reduction in drag, so a slight boost in top speed, but it might be really big because there have been a lot of rumors of how Red Bull are using their DRS in combination with the single element beam wing to try and create a stall mechanism that would potentially explain the big delta in speed that they have. And if Ferrari have understood how this mechanism works and have introduced the upgrade specifically to target this mechanism, then this might be the big upgrade that would boost or give the Ferrari the same DRS effectiveness as the Red Bull. So one thing to definitely watch out in Silverstone is to see the DRS effectiveness of the Ferrari and if it makes a big improvement to where it already was. Now, for some of you aero nerds who really want to understand how this mechanism would play out, I've done a detailed CFD study on my channel called Red Bull Debunking the Triple DRS Mechanism. So head over to my channel to try and understand how the triple DRS effect works.
Thanks, Shub. Really good. And don't forget to go to those sites of Shub's as well. Just to go back to the long runs, let's have a look then at the top speeds. When Carlos Sainz was doing a 33.5, which was his quickest run on the medium, and Max Verstappen was doing a 33.0, Look at the top speeds, identical. So maybe that new beam rear wing on the Ferrari is doing what Shub is suggesting, and it's taking Ferrari up into the Red Bull area when it comes to the effectiveness of the DRS. Don't forget they just run DRS all the time in the correct zones during qualifying. So if you compare that, for example, with McLaren 295, you can see that it's quite an impressive straight line speed for Ferrari. We'll have the speed trap times tomorrow, so we can see what they're actually doing at terminal velocity. And now, just to finish off, as I say, it was a day mainly of homework and just getting lots of data with fuel in the car, pushing those tires as hard as they could be pushed. Left front, we did have a couple of failures. Both of them, the word debris was mentioned on the radio. So at the moment, it looks as if those new Pirelli tyres doing a very good job. And here are the other times with, in brackets, the compound on which they were done. You see the variety of compounds used there and the order in terms of results of the drivers that I haven't included with the full details of the long run. Lance Stroll, very impressive, 33.0 on the soft tire. George Russell, 33.6. That's kind of what we've been seeing anyway, Lewis versus the opposition. Then the two Alpines doing virtually the same lap time on the two different compounds, so you'd have to give the nod there slightly to Pierre Gasly because he's on the hard. Alonso, 34.0 compared with Lance Stroll, 33.0 on the soft. That's a bigger margin, you would imagine, than there is between the soft and the medium, although you've got to take into account that these times were set at different ends or different stages of the run, so I'm not putting those details in, but you get a rough feel for where they are. Nick De Vries, good job, 34.0 in the AlphaTauri. Alex Albon, really good homework for Alex Albon, out on the hard tyre. Very good choice again by Williams, doing lots of homework there, and he's right there, isn't he? 34.1 on the hard. Yuki Tsunoda too, good job by Yuki Tsunoda, getting lots of laps. That will have set him up nicely for the weekend, I think. Oscar Piastri also looked good in the McLaren. He was pretty quick on occasion. On the soft tyre, did 34.2. Guanyu Zhou, Logan Sargent, again, impressive, I think, with his full tank run. Hasn't done many full tank runs, so that'll be really good homework for him, as I said earlier. Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, and, well, the two Haas Ferraris right at the back, 34.5. Again, on different compounds, the medium and the hard. So that was it for Friday. Beautiful day. As I say, the weather prediction not looking brilliant for tomorrow. And as I speak, a few thunderclouds graphics have appeared for Sunday as well. So it could be one of those races over the weekend. We'll wait and see. Big thanks to Jetcraft and to Pitbox.io. Don't forget to have a look in the description below this video to read all about them. And big thanks to you for watching. See you tomorrow after qualifying for the British Grand Prix. Take care.